The series focuses entirely on the 90 days that followed the assassination.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with politics. I steer clear of the politics. It only focuses on the hunt. It's based on true incidents. It was arguably the most difficult writing exercise that I ever undertook. I never show anyone as black and white ever. Even when I was dealing with the LTT, I dealt with them as human beings who are on the run with a certain ideology. I never pointed fingers at that ideology. I always look at a filmmaker with suspicion if in a 2-hour film you can't make the audience laugh even once. That's what he said.
That's a lovely quote. One of your favorite movies is Dabangg. Hi Nagesh, welcome to Galatta Plus. That's the channel. I must say, it's good to have you. I'm having the senior moment here where I cannot recall if I've met you or I haven't. Though you seem to have been around for the last 20 years, 25 years.
I did one of those classic things when I saw you. It's like, hi, and then you're like, did I meet him or did I not meet him? But the smarter thing to do is pretend like we've met.
We've met.
Exactly.
So we have met. This is
have
the
met.
second meeting, or maybe
Exactly.
the third.
Exactly.
Okay. You're back with this Sony Live and Applause Entertainment show, which is The Hunt, the Rajiv Gandhi case. And before we get to that, I must ask you about this crucial, very, very important thing about you. One of your favorite movies is Dabangg.
For that year, Subhash K. Jha is responsible for that. He said, what are your 3 favorite films this year? And it was.
Okay.
It absolutely was. I loved it. I still do, I think.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's a great film.
it reminds me of the kind of films I grew up watching in the 70s. Yeah. Masala, but entertaining.
Yeah. Why do you say but?
As a filmmaker, you constantly keep changing, right? And a lot of films hold a nostalgic value.
Right.
When you revisit them, more often than not, you're disappointed. You're like, I can't believe I like this. That's happened so many times. So I have a simple rule. Watch something. If you think it blew your mind, don't go back and watch it.
That's a good philosophy. But I tend to revisit scenes that I like rather than the entire film.
Gotcha.
Because I think if a film has maybe 10 to 15 good scenes,
Right.
that still lasts maybe after 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, whatever it is, then it's still a good film.
Oh, if it withstands the time test, it's a classic.
Yeah.
Simple.
But one thing, I find that not many Indian films withstand the time test as much as something like The Godfather does. When I start watching Godfather, such a cliche, but let's say The Godfather, or certain other films, I start from any point and I'm riveted. I watch till the end. That doesn't happen with too many Indian films. Have you noticed that?
It's an interesting point, but I grew up a child of American cinema. So even though I watched a lot of Indian films here, I think I was drawn more towards American cinema. So it spoke to me. So even loosely put Hollywood films, but we're talking about English films, have the same kind of impact for me. There are some Indian films which I go back, Sholay being a great example.
Sholay is a great example.
That you can pluck even a single scene, but those are far and few in between. I will agree with you, but it's only because I think I grew up on.
So it's more like an affinity thing.
It is. It is an affinity thing.
Right.
The relatability, and for a land and space that you don't know, is ironically much stronger than it is, because I think those images and those moments are seared in your consciousness.
Right, and maybe because Ramesh Sippy made Sholay with a certain Western sensibility.
Right.
Maybe that.
Having said that, I still go back and watch Namak Haram and Bawarchi any number of times.
Yeah.
Both Rishida films, any number of times.
But you are a self-proclaimed fan of Hrishikesh Mukherjee and K. Vishwanath, right?
I am, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's like.
I think because they've survived my time test is when I realized, I really like them as filmmakers. It's easy to
It's
say.
like a retro thing.
When I was living in India, I know I loved Rishida's films. But I never said, he's my best director. Back in the day, you never did these bests and firsts and all that.
Yeah.
But even when I went to the US and I'd keep watching these films and the repeat value was so strong, even with the Sagara Sangamam, that I kept saying, oh yeah, I think I'm naturally drawn. And if you look at the way I portray the middle class, it echoes both these filmmakers.
Right. So we'll come back to that
Okay.
with respect to the Rajiv Gandhi film, but let's do a little more nostalgia.
Okay.
When was the last time you saw Hyderabad Blues?
Um,
Let me just clarify that
okay.
with a little bit, because the thing is, it happened round about the time I came back to
Okay.
India,
Okay.
and me and a lot of my peers were feeling the exact same things about Indian culture versus Western culture, coming back, doing this, doing that. I especially remember that scene where your mom slips some money into your hand and then she asks you to give it to the domestic helper, if I'm remembering right.
yeah.
That you know, that is such a precise thing, and you captured that. So when you look back at that today, what do you feel? Or when was the last time you saw it?
I'll tell you. I watched Hyderabad Blues for the last time in June of '97
Wow.
when I finished the film.
You never revisited it.
I don't go back and watch my films ever.
None of them. You're scared?
I broke the rule only once. Oh, I'll tell you why I don't do that. I broke it with Bollywood Calling,
Okay.
which I watched a decade after I made it. That was the only film. The reason I don't watch it is I can only see the mistakes.
Okay.
And it doesn't make for a pleasurable viewing. I watch it and I'm like, the acting is terrible, the lighting is terrible, this is terrible. That's not the way to watch a film.
Right.
I have never been able to forgive myself for the mistakes I've made. I know it sounds like some deep psychological thing, but I keep telling myself, yeah, it was in the past, just enjoy it. And I'll take the two obvious ones like Iqbal and Dor, which came back to back. I think that those have fewer mistakes, but I can only see the mistakes.
Right.
So as a policy, I've just never gone back and watched anything I've made.
But that was such a lovely time, Nagesh. It was like, you know, films like Iqbal, Door, Teen Diwarein. It was possible to see these films in theaters. That was along with the blockbusters or the big films and all that. These were becoming successes as well.
Correct.
Financially, you know.
Correct.
Do you kind of look back at those times and feel maybe there were simpler times to get movies done?
Simpler and more difficult because the gatekeepers back then were from a previous era.
Okay.
So the distributors, the theater owners, they were all from a completely different era. So these films didn't make any sense to them. So it was.
You mean Iqbal and all that?
By the time Iqbal rolled around, I had a reasonable name as someone who did something different. And it was very clear for distributors that if you do about, 100 prints, yeah, you'll do fine with this guy. It's not that awful. So Iqbal was much later. And plus the first three or films were almost entirely in English. So the challenge to actually have them see the light of day was like something, it was so difficult. And I'm not going to go into the minutiae, but it was very difficult. So each period, if you're making independent films, Baradwaj, is difficult. Independent being the operative word. You have a star, things move much more smoothly. Teen Diware, I thought, I have Jackie Shroff, I have Juhi Chawla, I have Nasiruddin Shah, it's going to be a breeze. Idiot that I was, I made it mostly in English. If I'd made it in Hindi, 100%, even though it didn't have songs and all that. So I've been doing these really smart things all my career, but it's the only way I know how.
Yeah.
So, and I always say this about filmmaking, there are no lessons to be learned.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
With Hyderabad Blues, you said that while you were making that film,
Right.
there were a lot of people giving you advice.
Lots of gyan.
Lots of gyan. And you disregarded most of it because you said, I don't care if what I'm making is a piece of shit. It's at least my piece of shit. I just love that quote. I think it should be printed on a T-shirt. You know, this is such a great quote.
I was so clever when I came up with that quote, but no, the truth is
You still are that?
I still believe in that.
Right.
What the audience does with what you've made is so beyond your control that it's something that you cannot worry about. And I've done it. This is the only thing I've done successfully in my entire career. When I make something, I really don't give a damn what is conventional wisdom and what's the right thing to do, what the audience and how they'll perceive it. I've just gone with my gut.
Right.
So I enjoy the process of filmmaking so much that my joy ends when the film is done. So that's why when you asked me when I last saw Hyderabad Blues, I'm like, once it was done, if something works, I'm eternally grateful. Don't get me wrong. Without the audience, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But I don't ever have to pander to them. There's a huge difference. If I do what I believe in and it resonates with them, I've done my job.
Right, right. But you made a whole bunch of stuff in the 2000s.
Right.
You kind of slowed down the next decade.
No, the irony is I have been working more since I've not made films.
Okay.
So Dhanak is the last released film, right? Happens 2015, 2016. We're talking about that period. But 2016 rolls around and I get into the web series space.
Yeah.
And I've been working without a break. City of Dreams season 1, 2, 3, Modern Love Hyderabad,
And now
The
this.
Hunt, and I finished another series since then, since this.
Since this.
In this space, only the true hardcore fans say, oh, acha, what's he doing next? And they come looking for you. The rest of them don't even know. I can't even tell you the number of people who walked up to me and said, you just stopped doing stuff since 2015. And I said, actually, I moved into the web series space and I made City of Dreams. They're like, City of Dreams is yours?
Yeah.
I've had people like binge watch 3 seasons and they don't know I've made it.
Why do you think that is?
Firstly, because I'm non-existent on social media. I virtually don't do interviews other than when something comes up for release. And I don't have a public presence.
Okay.
I'm not updating people about going to the gym this morning or trying out a new meal. And
Did you go to the gym this morning?
actually, I didn't. I cheated. Damn it. I could have, the one day you asked me. But anyways. Yeah.
But, City of Dreams, like The Hunt, is about an assassination. Of course, that's a more fictional space. Are you a political person? Are you in that space at all? Because before City of Dreams,
Right.
when we saw your films, of course, there is one, let's leave out the thing that even the personal is political. So let's leave out that logic, right? I'm
Right.
talking about political in the literal sense of the term.
I get
Before that, we never saw your films venturing into that space. Maybe Teen Diwali a bit because there was a certain, dimension to that.
But and capital punishment was discussed. And all
Discussed,
that,
right.
yeah.
So, but otherwise, you never went into that space. So when City of Dreams rolled around, and even with The Hunt,
Right.
like, did you find that there was this strong political instinct in you?
No. So when City of Dreams rolled around, the series was about life in Mumbai and it revolved around a bunch of different people. Now the central story was Purnima's and she came from a political family. So it's something I hadn't done before. See, my number one reason for selecting anything in life that I want to do professionally is I only ask myself the question, have I done it before or not? So I had never done anything in the long format. City of Dreams happens. It's purely coincidental that one story is political, but it takes center stage. City of Dreams 2 comes around and I'm like, can I actually do something, do it as a follow-up? I do it, I enjoy it. 3 is guilty pleasure. I always thought, like The Godfather, I needed 3 seasons to complete an arc of a story. That's what I do. It's not because it's political. And now here comes the twist. This is anything but political. This is about a political assassination, but the series focuses entirely on the 90 days that followed the assassination.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with politics. I steer clear of the politics. It only focuses on the hunt.
So this is more like a detective thriller.
It is a police procedural, a true crime thriller. And when you see it, you'll know. Not once do I delve into the reasons of why this assassination was committed, what were the political stuff that was going on behind the scenes. The camera is squarely on the Special Investigation Team, SIT. Scenes without them aren't there. The only scenes that happen without them are when we focus on what was happening with the LTT who were on the run.
Right.
That's it.
Right, because I would imagine that
Correct.
when you try to contextualize something like the hunt,
Correct.
inevitably some bits of something about Sri Lanka or India or the Tamil situation or something like that would creep in, and you're saying that's not there at all.
So what I do, and I did this deliberately, obviously I have a great affinity for Tamil Nadu, primarily because right after I was born, I spent 7 years in, then it was Madras. Then I went back to a boarding school in Yerkad. So I understand that landscape. Added to that, if you look at my entire filmography, whenever I deal with characters, I deal with them with absolute humanity. And I never show anyone as black and white ever. So even when I was dealing with the LTT, I dealt with them as human beings who are on the run with a certain ideology. I never pointed fingers at that ideology. I never said this is right or wrong. And when you see the show, you'll realize that there is dignity on both sides.
Right.
With these people who, their lives were pretty much done, and the ones who were tasked with finding them, because it was like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah. You just mentioned that earlier, that one of the things that you've been doing is trying to portray the middle class.
Correct.
And by extension, I'm talking about, very recognizable feelings, emotions, a kind of a Hrishikesh Mukherjee kind of humor. Because one of my favorite, if I were to single out something that is quintessentially Nagesh Kukunoor, it would be that scene in Iqbal where Nasiruddin Shah numbers the cattle and positions them as fielders and because that is such a Nagesh Kukunoor thing for me. That's you. How do you locate something like that, a flavor like that, in a police procedural, which like The Hunt?
So there are a couple of
I don't mean literally the buffaloes.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I got your question.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of lighter moments in the show. Rishida had a great line, and I was one of those fortunate people to spend the last couple of years of his life. The very few people he let into his inner circle, and the only reason he did is he watched Rockford, loved it, and quick aside, the last film he saw before he passed away was Iqbal.
Oh.
Yeah. I had just finished Door. I wanted to show it him, but he fell ill and he passed away. But anyways, he said, I always look at a filmmaker with suspicion if in a 2-hour film you can't make the audience laugh even once. That's what he said.
That's a lovely quote.
So he's like, इतना मुश्किल थोड़ी है कि 2 घंटे में आप लोगों को हंसा नहीं सकते हो. So even in something as serious as The Hunt, there are 1 or 2 of these moments where where the SIT takes a break, people actually laugh.
Right.
I think that comes instinctually to me. I don't write with a plan. I roughly know a beginning, I roughly know an end, then I write. Of course, The Hunt is different. It's based on true incidents. So it was arguably the most difficult writing exercise that I ever undertook. Lucky I had 2 other writers with me, Sriram Rajan and Rohit Banavlikar, who's been with me all throughout the journey with City of Dreams and everything. And we beat ourselves up to try and see what incidents we could pluck out of the book and actually help it to accelerate the story, move it forward. So it was constantly a challenge. And in that, a bigger challenge to infuse humor or infuse these people with some degree of humanity, because we weren't there at that time.
Yeah.
So, super challenge. I know I digressed a little bit talking
No,
about
but
this.
that's exactly it. Because, even when you're making a book into a movie or a series, you can't go by the book, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have to fictionalize a little more around it.
So the biggest challenge that I faced, I had done Modern Love Hyderabad. Okay, that was the first time I took a real life story and made it into a 30 to 40-minute episode. So there was source material to work with, and then there were a lot of gaps to fill in and make
Right.
it entertaining. This was completely different. because this is such a sensitive topic.
Yeah.
So one had to walk the tightrope. Added to that, you know a certain incident happened. You know a couple of people met and they took a decision, and then the result was blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But once you decide that's what you want to portray, then to actually bring it to the screen is a terrifying thing.
Right.
Because you have 2 or 3 people talking and you're constantly questioning yourself, saying, am I doing right by them?
Yeah.
Not putting some random words in their mouth where they I never say it. To the best extent that we could understand these characters.
Yeah.
Would there be slip-ups? I'm telling you for sure. Because this is not an account of what you're doing. You're going to play this back exactly the way I'm speaking. This isn't that. It's a dramatization. So we subject ourselves to the strictest set of rules, and I hope we did justice by the people who were involved.
Right. What do you think of? You've been in this entertainment space not just as director, but you've also been an actor. What do you think of Nagesh Kukunoor, the actor?
Very average.
Very average.
Very average. Amir is one of those rare exceptions, and he's been doing it for a very long time, where he'll devote 2 to 3 years for a film.
Oh, that's not you.
That's not me. I love it when we sneak into some location without permission and shoot. And my EP is just going nuts saying, sir, aisa nahi kar sakte, aisa nahi kar sakte. But the joy of just sticking a camera in a van, sliding the door open and stealing a shot is just so much fun.
I was in school then, and that was when in Chennai, we suddenly started seeing an influx of Sri Lankans, Tamils, into our schools. And they were like a little bewildered because we were all...
My challenge for taking any show, Baradwaj, is simply the kida of, oh, I've not done that before. Let me see what I can do with this.
Right. Because that's the feeling that I got when I saw Modern Love Hyderabad. Because I was like, damn, this guy's never done a love story. You know?